hope all y'all having a blessed day. Dash and I are here today to introduce some of the supplies that you are going to need for our block of the month that we are doing for 2024. I'm very excited about it. Let me take you over to the cutting table and I will start showing you some of the supplies that you're going to need. I have found this lovely, true vintage, not so plain geometry by RJR Fashion Fabrics. I don't know when it was made, but it is at least from the 90s. So it's truly vintage. That means that I am truly ancient. And I had just enough, thank you Jesus, I had just enough to make 12 blocks. And they are roughly 12 by 12. And they make it cut down to 10 by 10 when I put the blocks together. I'm not sure yet, but I wanted enough room to have fun and explore. The reason that I picked this was because it is very thin. You can almost see behind it. And being that this is going to be handwork with some machine, and you can do all machine if you prefer, but this is going to be a slow stitching floral. So again, I wanted something that was thin enough that I could easily hand sew through it. Now, in addition to this, I will be using batting that looks like this because this is very easy to sew through and it's thin, but it will still show the texture from the quilting. And that is it for now. I am not dealing with a back at the moment. We're going to do most of the handwork just through to the batting layer, and then we will layer our backing onto it, and we will do some hand quilting or machine quilting around the blocks that will attach the back at that point. Our first block is going to be poppies. So you need a selection of fabrics that are poppy colors. Anything, this is also vintage. You have these, you can use batiks. If you'd like to coordinate your entire quilt, then you could use all batiks, or you could use all brand XYZ or fabric line 123. So we're going to be using that. We also need a selection of greens, and I thought that this would make a nice, this is from my book cover, from my Bible cover, and I thought I could cut little leaves out of that. So you'll need some greens. And you will need some lace. Now, I went to the thrift store and I got this huge tablecloth. And I'm going to be cutting up pieces of it, maybe like this nice area, and putting it on each block. Now, I'm not going to be completely covering it. It's only going to be a small piece of it. You will also need a selection of other laces and trims. These are vintage and these are not vintage. Those are mass produced, but they still are quite pretty. Isn't that beautiful? Look how shiny that is. And it's very soft. This is vintage. This I've had for decades. This is, I think, from the 80s. That, and we're going to need another selection of trims, anything that you've got, rick-rack, sequins, beaded trims, this rat tail trim. We're going to need a selection of embroidery flosses and pearl cottons. We're going to need other selections of fabric scraps. Here are some of the pearl cottons I will be using. We will, of course, be using some buttons and some other sew-on elements. I'm thinking of using some black buttons out of here for the centers of the poppies and just to decorate. If y'all have some beads, we'll be using some beads to decorate as well. We will also need some normal quilting supplies and sewing supplies. We're going to need a selection of needles. Now, this is doll making needles. They are really long and they're thin and sharp. And these are tulip sashiko needles, and I will add this to my Amazon cart so you can get your own if you would like. This is the tulip long sashiko needles assortment, and there are 6 in here, so I will add that to my Amazon store. You will also need a thimble. Now, if you are wanting to do sashiko and use the longer needles, I highly recommend one of these thimbles. I will add that to my Amazon store as well. And that goes on your finger like that. And when you are sewing, the back of the needle rests right here so you don't stab yourself, and you push. And The difference between sashiko and just slow stitching is that mostly in sashiko, you are moving the fabric onto the needle. So you're holding the needle and you are moving the fabric and letting it gather onto the needle. And that's one of the differences between sashiko and regular hand sewing. You can, of course, use a normal everyday thimble. This I got in Walmart, and believe it or not, it says that it is adjustable size. Basically, you dump it in hot water and then you put it on your finger and hold it until it resizes. But right out of the box, this fit me. You will also need a selection of scissors, rotary cutters, maybe a tape measure, quilting clips, or pins if you dare use them. You know me and pins, we don't go there. Oh my! Regular sewing thread, and if you like to baste, then you will want to use just any old vintage thread that you have laying around that you can use to baste. Some of my flowers are going to be 3D. When I make the petals for the poppies, I have them envisioned in my head. I haven't made one yet. By the next time we meet, I will have them done. I will be making petals that kind of look like this. I'll be sewing them on the machine, or if you want to do it by hand, you can do that. You could sew a whole bunch of these together while you're sitting and watching the TV, and then I will turn them inside out. I am going to kind of pleat them on the bottom, kind of like that, so that they have some fullness and some body on the edge and will kind of stand up. And they will be sewed down near the center of the flower along the bottom here, and then we will make either black velvet or a black button for the center, and that will cover where we connect our petals together. You're going to want to draw a whole bunch of these and draw them in different shapes, or draw them all the same if you prefer. We will get to sewing those when we get together next time. Those are the types of things you need to gather for the next video. Again, this is the 2024 block of the month, and it is going to be slow stitch, handwork, quilt as you go, sort of, kind of, humor me, floral applique, raw edge floral applique. And we're going to be doing all sorts of fun flowers, and we are going to be using flowers that we make petal by petal or a chunk of fabric. Or if you don't feel that you want to go down that path, then you can certainly gather as much fabric as you can find that has flowers on it, and you can cut them out and you can sew them on. In fact, you could actually do a combination. I just remembered that I do have some poppy fabric in my stash here, and we could put some of that in the background. So if you put it in the background and then you build your 3D flowers on top of that, it will look like a field of poppy. Let's see where it takes us. Again, we're going to be combining so many different techniques and so many skills that by the time this series is complete, you will have all of the knowledge and all of the techniques that you need to go out and do this on your own. I get people all the time asking me about how difficult it was for me to make my milkweed piece. And truly, it was not difficult. It was a project of joy, and it came straight from my heart, and it was a gift from God. He gave me the skills to be able to do that. He gave me the vision to be able to create that. But I want to share that joy with you, because that is my true passion, textile arts and making pieces like my milkweed piece. Those are the type of skill sets that I'm hoping that I can build in you, and this way you will not be limited. If you want to try making some 3D flowers, you can do it. You'll have the skills and the techniques down, and you will have the information you need so that you can make one of these pieces also. So I will see you next time when we put together our poppy blocks. We're going to start by building our backgrounds, and then we are going to start adding our flower and our leaf elements and any other type of elements that you want to add. So I will see you right back here at 70 Acres Studio next week with our first block. I'm really looking forward to this series, and I do hope that you will come along with me and that you will try this. It's not hard. Please trust me. I am not a high-end quilter. I'm just a person that likes to sew my passion, and I'm not afraid to waste a little fabric and see if something works. I'm hoping that I can build these skills with you and that I give you the confidence needed to go out there and try and make one of these pieces your own. I hope you have a very, very blessed day. I hope that you are staying warm. I've got my wood stove cranked. I've got my propane heaters cranked. It is very, very cold out. It is, I think, 14 degrees out right now. Stay warm, and I will see you right back here at 70 Acre Studio with our Poppy blog. God bless.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy.